Since the characters from EOSD and later are much more popular than those from 1 through 5, I will cover those characters in later videos. Also, as this is the first game in the Windows series, I will introduce the Windows version of Reimu and Marisa here. Hakure Reimu has been a playable character in almost every Touhou game since Touhou 1. In fact, she is the default character, so it is generally assumed that the canon endings to the games are the ones in which Reimu resolves the incidents. She is a human and she has the ability to fly. She is the current Hakure Miko, and this allows her to control the yin-yang orbs. She has an amazing intuition and uses this to find the culprits behind incidents. Reimu has a straightforward, lazy, and carefree personality, but she still fulfills her duty to resolve incidents. As a result, she is acquainted with many yokai. Because she is so friendly with yokai, and she rarely visits the human village, her shrine has a reputation of being a yokai shrine. Because of this reputation and the fact that the path to the shrine is dangerous, humans rarely visit, and she doesn't receive many donations. She uses yin-yang orbs, homing amulets, persuasion needles, and a gohei as weapons. In the fandom, there are a lot of jokes revolving around her abject poverty, and her schemes to make money. Her outfit exposes her armpits, and there are also many jokes about this as well. Kirisame Marisa has been a playable character in almost every Touhou game since Touhou 3. Marisa is a human magician, so she spends a lot of her time studying magic. She has a very straightforward and casual personality and is good friends with Reimu. Her personality shows in her magic, which tends to be based on immense firepower or more simple patterns. She is a habitual liar and a kleptomaniac. She lives in a house in the Forest of Magic. This is technically a magic shop, but since no one actually comes here, it is basically just a storage room for all the stuff she steals. She likes to go out and resolve incidents, so she knows a lot of yokai. She uses a giant laser attack called Master Spark. This is her signature move. Marisa uses stars and lasers in most of her attacks. She also flies around on a broom, though she doesn't actually need it to fly. She uses a magic catalyst device called the Mini Hakero. This device was made by Renosuke. In the fandom, Marisa's kleptomania is legendary, and is the basis for many stories and images. Many fans also portray Alice or Patchouli as being in love with Marisa. Now I will start with the characters introduced in Touhou 6 Embodiment of the Scarlet Devil. Rumia is a yokai. She has the ability to manipulate darkness. She is a human-eating yokai despite looking and acting like a small girl. She is not very intelligent or powerful, which is shown by the fact that she often flies into trees when she surrounds herself with darkness. You can easily trick her into not eating you if you ever encounter her. She doesn't have any known place of residence. In the fandom, she is part of Team 9, which is a fan-created association of idiots consisting of Rumia, Wriggle, Shirno, and Mistia. Daiyosei and Chen are also occasionally included in Team 9. She also uses the phrase "so nanoka," which is a childish way to say "is that so" in Japanese. Daiyosei is a fairy. She doesn't have an official name, so everyone just calls her Daiyosei, which means Great Fairy. She lives somewhere near Misty Lake. In the fandom, she is often depicted as either a close friend or an unrequited lover of Shirno. Shirno, which is how I choose to pronounce her name, is a fairy with the ability to manipulate ice and cold. Her attacks are all ice-based, and for a fairy, she is actually quite strong, but she is still not very smart. She is arrogant and confident. She lives near the Misty Lake and likes to freeze frogs in her spare time. She was the only playable character in Touhou 12.8 Great Fairy Wars. In the fandom, her symbol is the 9-ball. This comes from the manual to Touhou 9, where she is labeled as 9 and the description says idiot. In Japanese, of course. She uses atai, which is a childish way to say I or me. This is usually translated as you can see here, Hong Meiling is a yokai. She is a guard for the Scarlet Devil Mansion and is very skilled in martial arts. Meiling has the ability to manipulate ki. She also manages a garden in the mansion. In the fandom, she has a reputation among fans for sleeping on the job, which often results in her getting stabbed by Sakuya's knives. Her nickname is China because this is what most people called her for a while after the game's release, due to her being Chinese and her name being difficult to pronounce. Kawakuma doesn't have an actual name, so Kawakuma, meaning Little Devil, is just a name given to her by the fans. She is a demon, technically an Akuma, and she is believed to be a servant to Patchouli. She probably lives in the Scarlet Devil Mansion. Patchouli Knowledge is a yokai magician with the ability to manipulate the elements. She lives in the library at the Scarlet Devil Mansion. She rarely leaves the mansion and is known to have asthma and poor health. Marisa has stolen her books on several occasions, so in the fandom, fans often portray her as being in love with Marisa. Her health problems and her shut-in lifestyle are also often exaggerated in fan works. Izayoi Sakuya is a human with the ability to manipulate time and space. She is the chief maid of the Scarlet Devil Mansion and serves the residents of the mansion. She is very good at her job, and one of her titles is the Perfect and Elegant Maid. She is basically responsible for maintaining the Scarlet Devil Mansion. In the fandom, she is often portrayed by fans as having an obsession or unhealthy love for Remelia or Flander. Because of the way her character portrait changed across the games, many people say she wears breast pads. Though if you say this to her, she will knife you. There is speculation among fans that she may be a Lunarian or a vampire hunter, but her actual history is still unknown. Remelia Scarlet is a vampire with the ability to manipulate fate. She was responsible for the events of Touhou 6 when she attempted to spread a red mist so she could comfortably walk outside. She is the owner of the Scarlet Devil Mansion and claims to be a descendant of Vlad Dracula, but this is probably not true. Her weapon is a large spear named Gungnir. She is charismatic despite her small size, and in the fandom, whenever she loses her composure, this is referred to as a charisma break. Flander Scarlet is the younger sister of Remelia. She has the ability to destroy anything. Because of this, she was locked in the basement of the mansion for 495 years, but was released after the events of Touhou 6. She is mentally unstable, and she uses a weapon named Leviathan. She also has the ability to temporarily make up to 3 clones of herself. In the fandom, she is sometimes portrayed as being in love with Marisa. Her theme, Yuanoen wa Kanojo Nanaka, is one of the most well-known songs in Touhou, although you may know it by the name Yuanoen Was Her. Now I will cover the characters introduced in Touhou 7 Perfect Cherry Blossom. Letty Whiterock is a Yuki-onna, which is a type of yokai associated with blizzards. No one knows where she actually lives. She can manipulate cold and is rarely seen when it isn't winter. Because of this, many fans speculate that she hibernates when it isn't winter. Alice Margatroyd was a human magician who has over time become a yokai. She has the ability to control dolls and lives in a house near the Forest of Magic. She is a doll maker and performs shows with her dolls. She has 2 dolls named Shanghai and Horai. She also made a giant doll called the Goliath doll, but it collapsed and was destroyed. Alice fights with her dolls, often equipping them with lances, shields, or explosives. She is portrayed by fans as being in love with Marisa, often in a very unhealthy way. Lily White is a fairy with the ability to sense the coming of spring. She is known to fly around announcing the coming of spring, often with the phrase Haru desu yo, which means spring is here. She often does this while firing thousands of bullets. That is all she really does, actually. In Touhou 9, we see an alternatively colored version of her called Lily Black. While she even appears in several official print works, the consensus is that Lily Black is just Lily White in a different outfit. The Prism River sisters are almost always seen together. They are poltergeists created by Layla Prism River. Layla is now dead, but they still live in the ruined mansion. The Prism River sisters perform concerts both impromptu and by request. Lunasa, the oldest sister, plays the violin, and her music causes melancholy. Merlin, the middle child, plays the trumpet, and her music causes mania. Lyrica is the youngest, and she plays the keyboard. She is capable of producing unique ghostly notes. Because of the unique abilities of their music, it is not a good idea to listen to them do solos. However, when they play together, it is perfectly safe. Konpaku Yomu is half human, half phantom. She works as a gardener and guard of Hakugyokuro. She is a skilled swordsman and uses 2 swords. The short sword is named Hakuroken and can cut through confusion. The long sword, Rokonken, can cut through 10 ghosts in a single strike. She uses her swords and her ghost half in combat. She is diligent and honest, but not very flexible. Yomu has a grandfather named Yoki, but he has passed away. In the fandom, Yomu is treated as Yuyuko's cook and is the butt of Yuyuko's jokes. Her ghost half is called Mion by Western fans. Mion is a sound that Yomu makes in fan material whenever she is sad or embarrassed. Saigyoji Yuyuko is a ghost and is the owner of Hakugyokuro. She has the ability to manipulate both death and the dead. She is acquainted with Yukari, and while she acts aloof, she often knows more than she lets on. She is responsible for managing the netherworld. Yuko is often associated with butterflies, and many of her projectiles look like butterflies. She is largely responsible for the events of Touhou 7 when she had Yomu collect spring so she could make the Saigyoji Ayakashi bloom. While it is often exaggerated by fans, she does really like food. In the fandom, she is part of the fan-made Old Maids Alliance, along with Yukari, Byakuren, Kaneko, Eirin, and sometimes Yuka. Chen is a Bakeneko, which is a type of cat yokai. She is Ran Shikigami. Shikigami are like familiar spirits in that they follow orders and receive power from their masters. Yakumo Ran is a Kitsune, or technically a fox yokai. She is Yukari's Shikigami. Many of her attacks incorporate Chen in some fashion. Fans often portray her as being inordinately fond of Chen. This is embodied by her having a massive nosebleed and screaming Chen's name whenever Chen does something cute. Yakumo Yukari is a yokai with the ability to control gaps or boundaries. She is possibly the oldest and strongest yokai in Gensokyo. She maintains the Hakure barrier and does a lot of scheming. She lives somewhere on the boundary of Gensokyo along with Ran and Chen. In the fandom, she is often considered to be a troll and is seen as lazy. She also tends to use her gaps to conveniently teleport to wherever she wants to be. There was only one new character introduced in Touhou 7.5 in material and missing power. Ibuki Suika is an Oni with the ability to manipulate density. With this ability, she is able to increase or decrease her size. She can also make people gather. She loves sake, and her gourd is able to produce an infinite supply of it. As an Oni, she has immense physical strength, despite her small size.